Should be topic number 2 is we blame the 5 black male police officers involved in TYRE Nichols' death. But what about the woman that gave them the power to do all that? Doesn't she deserve jail time too? This came with a link. Let's check it out.
Now, this chapter of Saralyn C.J. Davis's history is really insane. Davis was also fired from Atlanta police in 2008 after becoming embroiled in a child pornography case involving another officer. She was involved in the botched investigation of Sergeant Tanya Crane's husband, Terrell Marion Crane, who later turned out to be guilty. 2 detectives on the case accused Davis, who was a deputy chief at the time, of urging them not to dig into the claims against Crane after the unit received pictures of him with underage middle school girls. Crane's wife, who was a sergeant working with Davis, also admitted to finding and burning some of the child porn photographs her husband had taken of the victims. Davis was demoted from major to lieutenant before ultimately being fired, before challenging the decision and being reinstated. Amazing. After that level of corruption, Atlanta PD reinstated her and put her back on the force. Wow. During yesterday's live stream, where we had a conversation surrounding why the media was covering and hiding the identity of the 7th Scorpion Unit officer that was involved in the death of TYRE Nichols, many of you were in the live chat telling me, TD, you need to look into the history of Saralyn C.J. Davis. You have to look into her past. This was a comment that I repeatedly saw appear over and over and over again throughout the duration of the live stream. And once the stream was over, I did just that. I looked into Saralyn Davis's past, and all I have to say is wow. The top cop behind the Scorpion Unit, disbanded after its officers were charged in the death of TYRE Nichols, previously led another controversy that too was shut down. Memphis Police Chief Saralyn Davis launched the elite team Scorpion Unit in 2021, which was made up of 40 officers. Davis was previously in charge of the infamous Red Dog Unit while working at Atlanta Police, where she was also embroiled in a child pornography scandal. It was disbanded over accusations of excessive force and police brutality. The Red Dog Unit, which stands for Running Every Drug Dealer Out of Georgia, was one of at least 11 run by Davis when she was a commander. It has many similarities to the Scorpion Unit in Memphis, which was made up of 40 officers split into 4 teams who patrolled high crime hotspots throughout the city. Red Dog was disbanded in 2011 by Mayor Cassim Reed after officers raided a gay bar and used excessive force, while others were accused of assaulting a man they pulled over in a traffic stop. Wow, now that sounds a lot like TYRE Nichols, doesn't it? During the raid, those at the bar complained that they were treated with aggression and forced to lay on the floor for over an hour as officers swore and used racist and homophobic slurs. The city of Atlanta settled a federal lawsuit with those affected by the raid in December 2010 for $1 million, which included reforms to Atlanta Police Department's operating procedures. Now, what people have to understand about these specialized units is that these specialized units are allowed to conduct themselves in a fashion that most police officers are not allowed to. They're given a longer leash to abuse the people in the community in order to weed out the bad ones. But what happens with this metaphorical leash is that these units become the equivalent of a rabid dog that has now been let off the leash. And once off the leash, he is running around, barking at and biting everyone until eventually that rabid dog mauls someone to death. And then you will see that's when the owner will now all of a sudden make the decision to say, well, you know, I guess we should actually put this dog down. And this is commonplace with these specialized units, as I'm going to show you here with this quick CNN video, where it just shows you a very quick and brief history of how these units always exist up until they kill someone unjustifiably. Then now all of a sudden, hey, you know what? I guess this unit was a bad idea after all.
Specialized units have existed in most of America's 70 major cities, often driving police arrest stats and generating PR opportunities for politicians eager to appear tough on crime.
I'm glad to hear that the unit's been disbanded. I think we should probably be taking a serious look at these specialized units, both in Memphis and around the country.
This kind of so-called elite police squad is not a new idea.
So some cities are taking on drug dealers with urban commando teams with intimidating names like Crash, Dart, TNT, and in Atlanta, Red Dog.
Show me hands, get on your knees.
Atlanta's Red Dog unit started in the 1980s. Officers went on high-risk raids and patrolled public housing. It was politically popular, but was disbanded in 2011 after years of complaints over its tactics. In 2021, facing a new spike in crime, Atlanta PD launched its latest specialized Titan unit.
We believe that the direction that they will have to be more aggressive as it relates to what street violence that we are up against, but it is no way to replace what Red Dog was.
In New York, the NYPD's street crime unit was launched in the 1970s with the motto, "We own the night." The unit faced controversy in 1999 after 4 plainclothes officers fired 41 shots at Amadou Diallo, an unarmed 23-year-old student outside his apartment building in the Bronx, claiming he fit the description of a man wanted for rape. The officers who shot Diallo were found not guilty. The unit was disbanded in 2002 after a federal investigation uncovered racial profiling. In 2020, the NYPD disbanded all of its plainclothes anti-crime units, the kind responsible for the chokehold death of Eric Garner. New York City Mayor and former police officer Eric Adams told CNN on Monday, specialized units aren't inherently bad.
Units don't create abuse. Abusive behavior creates abuse.
Nearly 25 years later, Amadou Diallo's mother is still fighting to change police practices.
I have to hold my heart and I have to let them know that this is a club that we wish we'd never had to welcome them. And this is a club that no families want to be part of.
From Philadelphia to Baltimore and Indianapolis, Memphis is the latest example of an all-too-common cycle. Crime rises, police create an aggressive unit that delivers an increase in arrests. Then comes scandal or tragedy.
Now let's get back to what happened with the Red Dog unit after their raid at the LGBTQ bar, where they harassed everyone, put them on the floor for an hour, and beat people that were in their car, claiming that it was just an innocent traffic stop gone awry. So here's what happened after the lawsuit came down. It demanded that there should be no more illegal search and seizures and an internal investigation into all officers involved. At least 10 complaints were formally lodged against the department alleging misconduct during the raid and turned over the agency's Office of Professional Standards or Internal Affairs unit. Activist Hunter Dempster, who is an organizer with Decarcerate Memphis, said that there were many similarities between the Red Dog Squad and the Scorpion unit. He told DailyMail.com, and here's a direct quote, "They are literally an oppression force. The trust between the citizens and the police in Memphis is about as bad as you could ever imagine in a metropolitan city. They are unchecked doom squads, which can do whatever they want. Davis's Red Dog unit was disbanded. So how are you going to take the same premise of a disbanded unit to your new job? Davis is doing her best to say all of the best social justice buzzwords and accountability, but she is just giving lip service and empty promises and trying to make herself look good. It shouldn't take someone dying for something to happen. They are violent bullies who pull you over, wave a gun in your face, and beat you up. They terrorize poor Black and brown communities." Now that's where the brother lost me. Once again, I don't know what it is about anytime something happens to Black people, we automatically turn into a Black and brown issue. I really wish we would stop doing that. There is no such thing as Black and brown issues. This is clearly a Black American issue in Black American communities. Brown has absolutely nothing to do with this, but I digress. The Red Dog unit was created in 1987 and named after the football movie of blitzing a quarterback with the intention to pressure drug dealers, users, and criminals associated with drug violence. Davis was promoted to deputy chief in 2014 after Red Dog was disbanded and oversaw strategy and special project division. The unit was also responsible for the death of Katherine Johnston, 92 years old, who was shot dead during a no-knock raid in 2006. Sounds a lot like Breonna Taylor now, doesn't it? Police officers from the narcotics unit, which was later rebranded, burst into her home and shot her 5 times after reports of drug dealing at the property. It is unclear if she was in charge of the unit at the time in 2006, with 3 former police officers charged with voluntary manslaughter and making false statements. Wow, now that really sounds a lot like Breonna Taylor. Prosecutors have said that the officers regularly presented false information to obtain warrants and that they cut corners to make more time for lucrative side jobs, providing additional security to businesses, often while on duty and receiving cash payments. The Scorpion team was created in November of 2021 as part of a crackdown on violent crime by Davis. So Sarah Lynn Davis took a failed oppressive unit that was disbanded in Atlanta and brought it over to Memphis. And now here we are with the death of TYRE Nichols. If you ask me, I think that Sarah Lynn CJ Davis needs to be held accountable for this as well, because the history behind these kind of units are very clear. And the thought that she would take an oppressive unit that already was disbanded in Atlanta and bring that over to Memphis that now led to the death of TYRE Nichols, in my opinion, means that she should face some sort of punishment for this. In the statement announcing the unit's deactivation, the Memphis Police Department said it remains committed to serving our community and taking every measure possible to rebuild the trust that has been negatively affected by Nichols' death. They added, while the heinous actions of a few cast a cloud of dishonor over the title Scorpion, it is imperative that we, the Memphis Police Department, take proactive steps in the healing process for all impacted. Lawyers for Nichols' family said in a statement that the disbanding of the unit was both appropriate and proportional to the tragic death of TYRE Nichols, and also a decent and just decision for all citizens of Memphis. Now, this chapter of Sarah Lynn CJ Davis's history is really insane. Davis was also fired from Atlanta police in 2008 after becoming embroiled in a child pornography case involving another officer. She was involved in the botched investigation of Sergeant Tanya Crane's husband, Terrell Marion Crane, who later turned out to be guilty. 2 detectives on the case accused Davis, who was a deputy chief at the time, of urging them not to dig into the claims against Crane after the unit received pictures of him with underage middle school girls. Crane's wife, who was a sergeant working with Davis, also admitted to finding and burning some of the child porn photographs her husband had taken of the victims. Davis was demoted from major to lieutenant before ultimately being fired, before challenging the decision and being reinstated. Amazing. After that level of corruption, Atlanta PD reinstated her and put her back on the force. Wow. She then retired from the force in 2016 and took up a role as police chief in Durham, North Carolina, calling for sweeping police reform despite her previous botched job in Atlanta. Now, this is the characteristic of a truly wicked person, right? Because when you look at the level of controversy that followed her from Atlanta, from her covering up a child porn scandal to heading Red Dog units that were actively oppressing the very people that they're supposed to be protecting in their community, she then retires from that police department, takes on a role as police chief in Durham, North Carolina, and reinvents herself as someone who's calling for sweeping police reform. That's called covering your tracks. Let me get out in front of my past by acting like I'm the police chief that's all about police reform. And she's literally doing the same thing now with the case of TYRE Nichols. Given her past and given how corrupt the Scorpion unit was, the police cam footage was released. The very next day, she was all about accountability and sweeping reform by disbanding the Scorpion unit and looking deeply and intensively into the officers who were involved, because that's just who she is. No, that is not who she is. This woman is as corrupt as the very cops that beat TYRE Nichols to death. Now, at the end of the day, those 5 officers that beat TYRE Nichols to death deserve the absolute worst punishment that they can possibly get under the law. But if you ask me, in my opinion, a woman as corrupt as Sarah Lynn CJ Davis deserves a little punishment to come her way as well. Because if it wasn't for her creating this oppressive unit that was disbanded in Atlanta, that she headed over there, then TYRE would still be alive and would have never been attacked by this Scorpion unit the same way the Red Dog unit in Atlanta was attacking people, pulling them out of their cars and beating them up as well. And with all that they are. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. And also, please make sure you text TD Hip Hop to number 3.
All right. Yeah, we blame the 5 black male police officers involved in TYRE Nichols' death. But what about the woman that gave them the power to do all that? Doesn't she deserve jail time too? So you guys on the panel and in the chat, you just saw this expose on this particular woman. What say you? You guys post your thoughts in the chat. In the meantime, Tanzan, I saw in the chat you said specialized equals militarized, right? They kept talking about these specialized groups. Tan, what are your thoughts on that whole story?
Yeah, you know, this is just the fallout of what started happening a few years ago when all this, you know, the police have always been a group of mostly people who are bullied and now they want to bully. Not saying that all of them are, but a lot of them, you know, have that mentality. So, you know, when you give that kind of power to people who had never have power before, it really messes with their heads in so many ways than one. So, but the regular police was still under the jurisdiction of the courts. They were still, you know, subject. They were still, you know, regular people after they you know, took off the uniform. But when you militarize the police, the army does not have to answer to anyone. And Lero made a really good point when she said, you know, who can hold the police accountable? Before it used to be the courts, but when you have like and I'm not saying that it is like a military junta or junta, however you pronounce it, but in countries where the army has a lot of power, you know, Americans only know about the power of their military when the military goes abroad, you know, when they flex their power to the rest of the world. The rest of the world knows the military power of America. Americans really don't see it. So when that power starts to seep into, you know, the local police force, you know, this is what happens. And this started even in LA when they had those doorbusters. They would just come and just, you know, break the whole door down and just rush in and do like this SWAT military, you know, sweep out of the house as if you were like high level, you know. Yeah, so they like to play these games. They like to play these video games in their heads and make it real life. And, you know, they call, you know, somebody walking, oh, a suspect is you know, traversing from point A to point B and so on. And you using this military, you know, words to even describe situations. Oh, we have visuals on it. Instead of just saying regularly, I can see somebody walking down the street, I have visuals instead. So, you know, this military and then military lingo and language gets into both video games and into real life for these policemen, because some of them actually feel that they think that they're playing some kind of video game where they're the heroes and they're Rambo style going into it. So when you give them even more power, that now they don't even have the power of accountability. Now they would have, you know, before they would have to answer to someone. Now they really have this mentality in their heads. What should they have now? Before they had the power to either, you know, take you in or, you know, let you go. Or if you get a ticket, you know, either you got a ticket or you know, you were given off a warning. Now they have the power of life and death. Like an encounter with them could mean you going home that day, you know. So it's more power than even the courts have. You know, the courts can only, you know, sentence you or go through this whole procedure, but with it, for them, it's made your life, your destiny is made it's decided in a couple of minutes, sometimes even just seconds. So, you know, giving these kinds of people that much power it will just, you know, increasingly just make these incidents, it's not going to go away. Basically, it's like when they started using robots. I don't know how, whether they've continued that or they've left it alone, but there was a case where they even sent out a robot. Now, once they send out those machines, you know, then it's just, you know, over. At least a human being, you can maybe, you know, catch them on a good day. But in any case, but this woman, let's get back to this woman. I'm saying that she looks like the female face of it. No, she is. Like, you know, she's not human anymore. I don't even think that this woman has a beating heart. I think her heart has just been replaced by a hole or something. But the evil, you know, for me, that this is what a mommy is. You know, people say, oh, you know, mommy will. Yeah, when you're willing to do anything to protect, you know, the worst of the people, then this is what you be. And that word should not even be used, because mommy, you know, mother is supposed to be a good thing, but this is a witch. This evil thing of a woman. No, she should not even be called a woman. She should be stripped of everything. Like, what kind of a monster can you be when you have no feeling for children? Like, what is left for you to be? Like, how does she even, you know, how does she even see herself not even in the mirror? How does she just wake up and still know that she exists? Like, she should cease to be. Ugh, just disgusted, you know, on all levels. She's and, you know, she has learned to play it so well. And this is what they do with the worst. It's not people think, oh, you should be good at your job. No, you should be the worst at doing your job. That's how you get promoted in these places. And she proved herself to be the worst of them, just willing to take everything that they gave her. Oh, you have this? Yeah, I'll do anything for that, you know. Yeah, this woman, ugh, disgusted. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. I know Nigeria had this issue in recent years. In Kenya, do you guys ever have a police task force issue?
It depends. It's a lot of politics in that. The police have a funny way of, the police in Kenya, they mostly prefer to you know, get your money than take your life. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, if you want me to elaborate, I can, but they don't really just kill people randomly just to kill them. Usually you can talk your way out, you know, you can negotiate with them and so on and so forth. So usually if there is some kind of, you know, vicious killing, it's either a political thing or it's somebody who has terrorized the neighborhood and they know that this person is just, you know, up to no good. And yeah, sometimes they do those extrajudicial killings of certain people, but they usually know who they're going for. So yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's also to be noted when the conversation comes up of like, do you stay in America or do you repatriate back to the continent? One thing with being on the continent is people who look like you, for the most part, who are doing these local jobs. And so there's an opportunity there to be able to reason with someone. But in America, where the dominant society is not your group, yeah, there's none of that going on. That's life or death. There's no in between. Uzuli, what say you?
I was about to give you another video that this brother made again on this lady to see where she got her training from.
Okay.
So in the other video, she got her training from the state that America gives a lot of money to, that's in the Middle East. That's where she got all her training from.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So again, how do you hide your hands? You hire figureheads. You hire people that hate themselves. This is what you get. This lady's been doing that in 3 states, and she still got a job. We have no friends. The people have no friends. The people, the black people, the people, regular people have no friends. This lady, probably her tax bracket is she's probably making like 500, 6 figures, 500K. She don't see herself like that. She's doing their beddings. She's working with them. How is this lady not brought up on charges? How could this lady do what she did in Atlanta, go to another state, do this another thing, and then rebrands herself? She was involved in a freaking pedophile case. How did she get another big job like this for corruption? This is insane. And this is what people are talking about. Oh, we need to police our own self. The lady, she's black, then 5 brothers were black. So what are we talking about? This is just like in the police room. Yo, this is just crazy, man. I don't even know what to say. That other video is so powerful too. What they showed you, she got her training from them, and then she comes to and that's not even true. Yo, this is just crazy. This is like, how is this lady able to get another job like this? But that's what they do. If you look, the police chief officer in New York City is a woman too. That's what a lot of they hide behind. Oh, we're progressive. We're giving these people this is the perfect example of that. A lot of people will be like, oh, we can't hold this lady accountable because she's black. Most of these people that were fighting were trying to get at these 5 officers. Nobody said nothing about her. But she's the one that gave him all the power. Where was all that aggression towards her?
The Trojan horse.
She lowered the credentials to be hired on that job. So what's the kind of, how come none of these brothers that was coming at me and Gas and other people, how come none of these people held her accountable? Quiet. So I mean, yo, I just think we have no friends. Once they let you in the door, somehow they play with your mind. They make you believe you're not them people. You believe you're in a different tax bracket. You could cause that. So, hey, I don't know, man. That's it.
Thanks for that, Azuli. Shout out to Brother Bakari, who's in the chat saying peace and Black Power. He says he didn't get a notification. Yeah, I could see that. I see YouTube doing a lot of stuff with my channel. By the way, you guys should follow me on Rumble too. When YouTube takes down these episodes, like they did the episode before this one, episode 86, YouTube took that down. But the beauty is I have it synced with Rumble, so you could go on Rumble. If you miss an episode here or it's been taken down, you can go to Rumble and actually catch the episode because they don't have the same flagging system and all that as YouTube. With that said, let's hear from Buana Hagzi.
Okay, so I take a different view from the rest of the panels. And let me take this by the numbers. Let me first address the fact that the 5 black police officers issue. I feel whenever people put on that uniform, they no longer claim black or white or yellow alliances. They just become blue. And behind that shield of blue is all colors involved. You know, all of them collude together to do what they do. And all of them are actors. So I understand people on the face of it, they see 5 black men beating up a particular gentleman, but I see them as police officers. You know what I mean? So there's that. Another thing too is the question asked, does she deserve jail time? Now, I don't know what she would have done to cause her to have jail time in this particular incident. Even though she was the chief or chief officer, and she came up with a program where they have this specialized policing, you know, to do whatever they needed to do. Now, her as a chief of police, even though she is a chief of police, she has a boss. She has to answer to all the rules or all the programs she wants to institute inside in a police department. And those rules or laws or policies that she institutes in her organization, they have to come within the realm of state law and federal law. You can't have any program to where your actors are acting outside of the scope of the state law or federal law. If she would have done that, she could be held legally liable. And I have not heard any cases yet where she is being held legally liable for creating laws that says go out and brutalize this, that, or the other individual. Now, that's what she could, just to present the other side of the argument. She could say, okay, yes, I have a specialized group, and this is what our programs are. This is what we want to do in these particular heavy crime, drug, whatever areas, right? And these things have to come within the scope of the law. Now, she could also say, I did not tell these police officers to go out and beat a person to death, or rouse somebody out of their car, beat them up on the side of the road, beat them till they unconscious, and do the things that she wouldn't have allowed her officers to do. They was acting outside of the scope of their employment. She could always claim that. And she would be justified in claiming that because she is not an entity unto herself. Whatever program she wants to invoke within her police department, in the police department she governs over, there's checks and balances. She cannot institute any programs outside of the scope of state or federal law. That's the second issue. As far as what she would have done in Atlanta, she was in terms of the child business. She was accused of I guess covering up for whoever. She was fired, and then the case itself was relitigated because she went back before the police department or whoever her elders are, or the people who were her bosses, and they decided to reinstate her. If they reinstated her, they didn't find sufficient evidence to hold her accountable to what was being alleged against her. See, and that's the thing. You live in a country of laws, and if you don't know how to work the system will work against you. Now, we as a society want to protest, and in our way of protesting is going out on the street corners and petitioning government, walking down the street with placards in our hand, etc., etc., etc. But there's an other side to that protest. I feel like in terms of jury duty, in terms of more black faces inside the courtrooms, where if you are able to pull errant police officers into a courtroom, there needs to be more black faces in terms of on juries. It seemed to me like we obfuscate. We don't like to go and sit in juries where these cases are adjudicated to ensure so-called justice is being done in terms of convicting these guys. It seems like our protest only extends on the street corner, and at that point it stops. But I feel like sometimes it goes beyond that. You have to find yourself in places where they have matters of policing, and then the people go and explain publicly and explain what's going on in their communities, how the police is doing this. And I feel like not enough of us are there as well. This is the other part of the work in terms of what must be done, we must do. It can't just be protesting and holding placards and doing things like that. I think that it should extend beyond just doing that. And I feel like if you don't do that, this is where you're being taken advantage of at times. But I'll stop there just to be brief.
No, I appreciate that. I think I saw a Real Black Gentleman in the chat earlier too, so shout out to him. Daily Affirmation by Pauline said the chief should be charged as well. She is indoctrinating these officers to behave this way. What do you guys have to say to that comment?
Like I said,
indoctrination is not a crime.
What are you talking, bro? When the Nazi general gave orders for the soldiers to kill some Jews, the Nazi general got arrested and got sent to death camp. Got sent to got capital punishment too. So I don't understand. What are you talking about? She should not be held responsible.
So, okay, so show me the information or the evidence that says that she was indoctrinating her officers to specifically
Did
go
you
out
not, yo,
and kill
bro,
people.
bro, I can't deal with that because so you think you think this all what these officers are doing in the street? You think that commander, that the captain don't know what they're doing in the street? You think if that brother didn't die, that shit would not have been swept under the rug?
No, I'm saying that. No, I'm saying that before I convict someone and condemn them to hell, you have to have evidence. That's what
Condemn them
I'm
to
saying.
hell.
You can't.
So
Yeah, if
you
I'm
think she
saying
died?
that you can't. I'm saying that you can't. You can't. You could accuse someone, but the accusation have to extend beyond accusation. You have to provide evidence before you say this person deserve
So
jail.
you think
That's
she
what
got
I'm saying.
so she got ran out of Atlanta. She went to North Carolina and left there and came there. You think that was by accident because she's a good person?
Where is it that states that she was run out of Atlanta? She retired and she
Okay,
went.
okay. See, this is what I don't. This is the bullshit that
The,
you
the,
people
the
be doing.
details is,
You know what the
but the
fuck it means
details,
when somebody
the
retires.
details important. The details important.
Yo, bro,
The,
stop that shit.
the,
Stop
de-
fucking. So I
the,
don't want to hear
the
shit about y'all
details.
niggas talking about
I
oh
know
yeah,
you don't hear it.
revolution. I want to
I
change
know you
shit.
don't hear
We
it.
all know
Details are
when they
important.
say when an officer
Details important.
retires. You think she retired because she was 70? What do you think she retired for, bro? What do you think she retired for, Boana?
I don't know the reasons why she
All right,
retired. Do
you
you?
playing. All right, you're right. You got it, man. Okay,
I'm saying
you're right.
the
You got it.
details. I'm saying the details are important. I'm saying that I could accuse someone of doing something, but if I have no evidence to back up my accusation, that person goes free. This is how the laws of the United States work, brother. I understand that you don't like it and it's
This is how the
unfair
laws of the
and it's
United States when the police officers are acquitted of the police officer that was acquitted of murder. Do you think so? According to what you're saying, the brother that killed Trayvon Martin is not guilty, right?
I don't let's stick to this. Let's stick to this
No, no,
this
no, no, no,
particular.
no. Is the brother that killed Trayvon Martin?
No, we
He's
no
not
because
guilty,
we
right?
jump in. We jump in. No,
I'm jumping.
Trayvon Martin is a different set of
Oh,
facts. And it's a different.
now it's a difference. Okay,
Of course, you
okay,
can't
of
hold on.
course,
Oh, wait
of
a minute.
course.
So every killing that goes on in the United States, you want us to lump all the different factors that come into play and say all of them are the same. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, Zuli.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. I got it.
Okay, all right.
You guys stopped unexpectedly. Tanzan, you want to add anything?
Yeah, it just sounds to me like those priests were always transferred from one parish to another. Yeah, there's never enough, evidence. It's just hearsay, and they're taken from one place to another, but somehow they always manage to land on their feet. Yeah. Look, Bwana Haguziki, you don't have to look too far to know that, firstly, if somebody who is, has that much power, she has to have done something to get there. She's not just a nice old lady and whatnot. Just like what it takes to be in the music business, in the Hollywood business, and so on. You don't just get this kind of power just from you've seen how low level black policemen act. So imagine if you're given that power, and not just a supposed black woman, but a woman, a female as well. Do you know what kind of things you have to do to get there? Like, let's not be naive.
That's a big statement you're making, sister. That's a big statement.
No, it's not a big statement. First of all, for anybody who's involved in such a corrupt system, let's leave even, her being a woman out of it. Let's just say any black person who's in the police system. For them to be even there, it's you're joining a very patently corrupt system. So either you're going to say, oh, I'm going to spook at the door, or I'm going to be part of the system. Those are just your basic, options. And obviously she was not, spooking for anybody, on this side. So you know where her loyalty lies. There's no, oh, I'm just doing my job and I don't know what's going on. She knew what exactly was going on. And you don't get associated with scandals just because you have bad luck. To be associated with two, child, that's a sick thing. And even if she was not an active party, as a woman, and now I'm calling her as a woman, she should have blown the lid off the whole thing. She should not have put up with it. She should have used her power to try to protect children, not to protect grown men. So for that alone, even before. And for me, this is almost like, this person almost died in order to blow open, what was going on there. It was not just a random, a whole racist, or somebody just shot, somebody dead. It was a whole system. It was a squad. It was a team. It was a group. So this was a whole, people talk about conspiracy. This is the conspiracy. It was not just a random event. These people were known to be, this kind of, and why do you have to form a special squad? And that's what I was talking about, the militarization. When you give people too much power, they're going to abuse it, and they're going to abuse the most innocent of people. It's not just a coincidence that you see the most powerful people, abusing the most innocent of society. So no, I'm not saying, oh, we don't know the facts. The person who did this documentary or whatever expose, he went through the facts. He went through her records. He talked about all these cases, and this was more. But you are willing to more say, with the black farmers, oh, we don't know what they did. These are farmers. Whatever they did, it can't be that bad than a black police woman who's hiding, this degenerates behind the blue shield. So no, there are times when we have to call an evil spade, and this woman is an evil witch.
Okay, so I'll say this. I'll say this. In terms of why they would have the need to have specialized policing, I am not a police officer, so I don't know what is going on in terms on a street level of in at Atlanta or Memphis. But here's what I do know. I do know that the cartels right now, the Mexican cartels, the South American cartels, they are drug heavy. They have billions and billions of dollars invested in terms of sending drugs and guns into the Americas for different reasons. For different reasons. So, and the cartels, they are militarized in what they would have done in South America. And a lot of their markets are in North America. And how they get their drugs into North America is they appeal to the street level drug dealers. So their guns, where they used to have not necessarily militarized or real guns in the United States on the streets of America, now they're using real guns, so it's like they buying it out in the street corners. So the specialized policing or the militarizing of the policing is to combat what is actually happening in the south of the border coming into the Americas right now. That's to combat that. And there's a lot of different specificities that's actually going into it. But like I say, I don't live in the streets of these areas. So the remedy for what's going on in the streets of these areas, I don't know if that's remedial. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But I know from their end, they perceive it as a solution to what's actually happening on the ground in these areas. And sometimes, unfortunately, people are harmed, innocent people are harmed, and they shouldn't be harmed for it. And I'm not an advocate of innocent people being harmed and people's civil rights being trampled on. I'm not an advocate for that at all. But I also do know there are some external factors that's happening in the streets of America right now.
All right. If there's no other words here, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 tonight. Shoot the Breeze.